Hey heathens, finishing up the review of the debate. Um, Not much to add to it, but so I'll go into a little bit more details of other stuff. But right at the end, the last thing I was wanting to point out is that last topic that they really didn't go into. Is Christian claims about the person of Jesus are not true. His alleged miracles violate the laws of nature. Now what happened was Dawkins had used pretty much his time. Now listen to this. This is how this goes. They do the no one needs God to be moral part, and again, Dawkins goes first and Lennox second. Dawkins was supposed to have 5 minutes to respond. Okay. Dawkins used about 2.5 minutes to rebut the last argument, to which also Lennox interrupted him a few times, taking up some of that time as well. But the moderator told him he was out of time. And right as Dawkins was finishing up the rebuttal side of it all, Dawkins says, "No, I've got another 2.5 minutes." And then, now, this part is fair. The moderator says, "Yes, but we are out of time. We've extended some of the other segments too long, and now because of our viewing audience, we're somewhat out of, we don't have time to keep going." And so the thing was presented. Well, if you like, we can just go to you can rebut this. You can answer this question as part of your conclusion if you like. And Dong says that's fine. He didn't, no problem. So then they turn it over to the 5 minutes that Lennox was supposed to get for this topic, to which he goes. Now the whole night he had been arguing of basically a deistic God. Evolution, fine. Big Bang, fine. But God had to start it. And he goes straight from that to, so since all that's true, Jesus has to be real, and he died on the cross and his love, blah, 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 and he gives the whole, spiel we've all heard 1,000 times before. And talks for 7.5 minutes. Note, 2.5 minutes longer than he was supposed to, and the same 2.5 minutes they took away from Dawkins. Anyway. Dawkins' conclusion was, you could tell that it really had frustrated him at this point because of how big of a jump he made. It was given to Dawkins to do his conclusion, which, well, actually he was when Lennox was done with his thing, then they gave Lennox his time to do his conclusion, and which he, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong on this. But his conclusion was fairly short because he had gone on and on the majority of the time before that. And Dawkins says, and that's how we see it goes. The whole night you're talking about a deistic God, then all of a sudden, boom, Jesus died on the cross and he walked on water, and it's all about that again. How do you logically put together the idea that, okay, well, science is all fine and dandy, and yes, we accept all this. Oh, but Jesus was real. You erase all that out, and you go a deistic style God, and then boom, Jesus died on the cross, and so that's it. And this is a big error that a lot of Christians make. They'll argue against us, saying, well, Big Bang says something came from nothing, and they'll argue about all this stuff like that, which is to presume that everything else is fine. Okay, so how do you get from okay, but God had to start the Big Bang, to so since you can't prove to me that he didn't, then the earth was created in 6 days, just like the Bible says, and the flood was real, and Noah's Ark, and Moses, and the whole deal with the tablets and the Ark of the Covenant, and all the wars and all that stuff too, and Jesus walked on water and turned water to wine and brought people back from the dead. All that stuff becomes true simply because you think that the beginning doesn't work, ignoring every other religion, every other idea that could possibly be the other answer. And just for my Christian subscribers, that is the part that really grates our nerves. Like, how do you go from, well, since this one part doesn't make sense to me, I'm going to accept all of this and ignore any other possibilities. But anyway, that's a whole other side of it. Apart from that, let's talk about just the basic of the debate. Again, it was at UAB. The crowd, and me and the guy that I went with, we kind of, we tossed around what we thought the numbers were. I thought it was about a 70-30 split, with obviously more Christians than atheists. But we were a lively bunch. The atheists made sure they let themselves be known. And what was interesting, I guess this is what made it hard to count, because the guy who got me the tickets, he said that he thought it was more like a 60-40 split. I didn't think it was that close. But as we talked about, what we think maybe the reason why he got that impression was a lot of times. Now, when, obviously when Dawkins would say something, clever, all the atheists would clap, and whenever Lennox would say something that the Christians thought was a good response, even when it wasn't, they'd clap. But there was quite a few times when Dawkins would make other points that really couldn't be argued, and everyone clapped. Didn't really get that out of Lennox. Now he had a few funny little jokes, and we all laughed because he was a fairly witty little guy. I'll give him that. He made it entertaining. But it really seemed like Dawkins was getting his points across a whole lot better. Which, again, when you're backed up with facts versus faith, facts are going to stand out stronger. It was a great thing. I really enjoyed it. After the show, got to go backstage. They had a table set up for everybody to go through and get books signed and meet Dawkins, which is where you got to see me. Where I got him to say the "Hey Heathens" thing, which was great. He was very reluctant at first. What's so funny is he didn't like the "Hey." He says, "Why do I have to say "Hey Heathens"?" I said, well, "Hello Heathens" works for me. I don't get. The guy I went with that you saw riding with me in the Corvette. He said, "Yeah, it's so funny. He's so English he couldn't say hey. It had to be proper hello." But it was great. I was so appreciative that he did that for me. You could tell that the organizers were, hurry along, but he was very accommodating to everybody I went through. He did, he was very personable, and it was a pleasure to meet him. And I'm so glad that they did the event. Anyhow, so that's the wrap up of the debate. There was links in the last video. You can check them out, and I think it's even on YouTube now. You can listen to it. So check it out in full if you like. But that's the gist of it.